The envelope wasn't addressed to me, but my name was scrawled across it in shaky handwriting I'd never seen before. I found it wedged between my screen door and the frame on a Tuesday morning, the kind of gray, forgettable day when you're running late and your coffee tastes like disappointment. I almost threw it away, assuming it was another flyer or solicitation, but something made me pause. Maybe it was the way my fingers trembled as I held it, or the weight of the paper that felt heavier than it should. I tore it open right there on my doorstep, and as I read those few simple lines, my knees buckled. I grabbed the railing to steady myself, reading the words again and again, my vision blurring with tears I didn't know I had left to cry. In that moment, everything I thought I knew about my life, my neighbors, and the walls I'd built around my heart came crashing down. I'd lived at 2247 Maple Street for 3 years, and I couldn't have told you the names of half the people on my block. After my husband died, I'd become a ghost in my own neighborhood, drifting from my car to my front door with my head down, avoiding eye contact and small talk. The suburbs felt suffocating, filled with families and laughter and all the things I'd lost. My house became my fortress, my isolation became my comfort, and I convinced myself that staying invisible was the same as staying safe. The woman next door, Mrs. Chen, had tried to reach out when I first moved in. She'd brought over a casserole I barely touched and invited me to a block party I never attended. After a few polite rejections, she stopped trying, though I'd sometimes catch her watching me from her kitchen window with an expression I couldn't quite read. Pity, I assumed. Or maybe just curiosity about the sad woman who'd moved in next door and never came out except to go to work. But this note wasn't from Mrs. Chen. It was from Harold, the elderly man who lived in the small blue house on my other side. I'd seen him maybe a dozen times in 3 years, always shuffling to his mailbox or sitting on his porch with a blanket across his lap, even in summer. We'd never spoken beyond the occasional nod. The note read, "Dear Sarah, I don't have much time left, and there are things I need you to know. I've been watching you for 3 years, and I see myself in you. After my Margaret passed, I did exactly what you're doing, shutting out the world, thinking the pain would be easier to bear alone. I was wrong. Please come see me today. I have something for you. It can't wait. 2245 Maple Street. Harold." My first instinct was to ignore it. Whatever this was, I didn't want it. I didn't want connection or advice or whatever well-meaning intervention Harold had planned. But something about those words, "I see myself in you," burrowed under my skin. And the urgency in his message, the tremor I could see in his handwriting, made ignoring him feel impossible. I knocked on his door at noon, my heart hammering. When he answered, I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, his skin hanging loose on his frame, and his eyes held a weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion. But when he saw me, his face transformed with a smile so genuine it nearly broke me. "Sarah," he said, his voice raspy but warm. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit down." His living room was immaculate but frozen in time, filled with photographs of a beautiful woman I assumed was Margaret. They were everywhere, capturing decades of love, from a young couple laughing at the beach to elderly hands clasped together in a hospital room. Harold settled into his recliner with visible effort. "I'm dying," he said simply, no preamble. "Pancreatic cancer. I have maybe 2 weeks, the doctors say, and I couldn't go without telling you something important." I started to offer condolences, but he held up his hand. "I've been where you are," he continued. "When Margaret died 5 years ago, I thought my life was over. We'd been married for 53 years. She was my everything. I stopped answering the phone, stopped going to church, stopped living. I spent 2 years sitting in this chair waiting to die, convinced that love like ours only comes once, and losing it meant there was nothing left worth having." Tears streamed down my face as I listened, seeing my own story reflected in his words. But then something happened. Harold said, his eyes brightening. "Mrs. Chen, your neighbor, she wouldn't give up on me. She kept coming by, bringing food, asking me to help with little things, her computer, her garden, anything to get me engaged. At first I resented her, but slowly she reminded me that life, real life, isn't lived in isolation. It's lived in community, in small kindnesses, in showing up for each other even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." He reached beside his chair and pulled out a worn leather journal. "For the last 3 years I've been keeping track of you, Sarah. Not in a creepy way, he added quickly, seeing my expression. But I've noticed things. I saw how you'd sit in your car for 10 minutes before going inside, gathering the strength to face an empty house. I saw how you'd rush past neighbors, how you'd decline every invitation. I saw how you stopped decorating for holidays, stopped maintaining your garden, stopped engaging with life. My throat tightened with embarrassment and something else, being seen in a way I thought I'd avoided. And I saw something else, Harold continued, opening the journal. I saw you put Mrs. Chen's trash cans away when she forgot them during that storm last winter. I saw you leave groceries on the doorstep of that young family across the street when the father lost his job. I saw you feeding the stray cat that everyone else chased away. Sarah, even in your grief, even while you were hiding, your kindness kept showing through. And that told me everything I needed to know about who you really are. He handed me the journal, and I opened it with shaking hands. Inside were detailed entries, observations of not just me, but the entire neighborhood. Harold had been watching all of us, documenting acts of kindness, moments of connection, the web of humanity that existed right outside my door that I'd been too blind to see. This neighborhood is full of good people, Harold said softly. People who would be your friends if you'd let them. People who need you as much as you need them. Mrs. Chen is struggling with her daughter's move across the country. The Johnsons are overwhelmed with their newborn twins. The teenage kid at the corner house is being bullied at school. Everyone is carrying something heavy, Sarah, and everyone is stronger when we carry these burdens together. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Because I'm giving you what I wish someone had given me sooner, he said. Permission to live again. To love again. Not romantic love necessarily, though I hope you find that too someday. But the love of community, of friendship, of being part of something bigger than your own pain. Margaret wouldn't have wanted me to waste 2 years mourning instead of living. And I know your David wouldn't want that for you either. Hearing my husband's name from Harold's lips shattered something in me. I sobbed, months of pent-up grief pouring out in Harold's living room, while this dying man, this neighbor I'd never bothered to know, held my hand. I have one request, Harold said when I finally composed myself. Take this journal, read it, and then do something with it. Bring this neighborhood together. Let them know they're seen. Let yourself be seen. Promise me, I promised. Harold died 11 days later, and on the day of his funeral, I knocked on every door on Maple Street. I told them about Harold's journal, about how he'd seen and appreciated every one of them. I invited them to a gathering in his honor, a celebration of the community he'd observed but had been too isolated to fully join until the end. 73 people showed up in Harold's backyard, which Mrs. Chen and I had spent days preparing. We shared stories, cried together, and discovered that everyone had been touched by Harold's quiet observations in some way. The journal became a neighborhood treasure, passed from house to house, reminding us all that we're seen, we matter, and we're stronger together. That was 8 months ago. Now my calendar is full of coffee dates, book clubs, and neighborhood watch meetings. I help Mrs. Chen with her computer classes. The Johnsons call me their honorary grandmother. The bullied teenager talks to me about his dreams of becoming an artist. My house is no longer a fortress. It's a home, filled with laughter and connection and proof that even in our darkest moments, we're never truly alone. I still miss David every day. But Harold's note taught me that honoring his memory doesn't mean stopping my life. It means living more fully, loving more openly, and showing up for the beautiful, messy, interconnected community of humans who are all just trying to get through this together. Sometimes salvation comes in the form of a casserole you don't eat or an invitation you decline. And sometimes it comes in a note from a dying neighbor who sees past your walls and reminds you that you were meant for more than survival. You were meant to live.